The first thing I usually do is cut up my potatoes. These are gourmet red potatoes. I'm cutting them into small cubes. Normally I would put probably a third more potatoes, but because we're using what we have, I just added what was left, which was about, I would say, 7 or 8 small gourmet potatoes. You want to cut them into small cubes. After you've done that, you're going to add your oil to the large pan. I use Crisco because it's not as heavy as olive oil, but if you do have olive oil, that works just fine. Next, I'm adding garlic powder. This is left from our visit to Quebec, so you can see that the label's in French. So I'm going to do a little bit of a layer on top of there, top of the oil. Then I'm going to add ground pepper. I do about 4 or 5 turns on that. And last, we're going to do sea salt. Now, these are my 3 main seasonings that I use for my recipes. I make sure to keep it kind of light on the pepper and salt and more heavy on the garlic. So there you go. You can see that as it's warming up, it's coating. Now, next, we're going to add whole fresh mushrooms. I'm going to clean them off with a paper towel versus rinsing them because they do absorb water. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to slice them into thin slices. They're going to go on the veggie side of the frittata. Around this time, your potatoes should be starting to brown a little bit in the pan. As they are, you're going to, after you slice your mushrooms, we're going to pull out some greens from our salad mix. That way the salad mix ends up helping with multiple meals. I took about 6 or 7 leaves of that. I'm going to next crack the eggs that are going to go on top of the potatoes. I did 8 eggs, so 2 per person, so this is a meal for 4. I've cracked all of the eggs, and now I'm going to add a splash of whole milk. There we go. Once I've done that, I'm going to add the same 3 ingredients: the crushed pepper, garlic powder. As you can see, I was kind of running out of it. So I added the rest of the garlic powder. And then also my sea salt. I'm going to let you see what it looks like there. It's my milk, my eggs, and my seasoning. Next thing I'm going to do is now in an Airbnb, sometimes you're not going to have exactly what you need, so you just kind of make it work. And what I did is I went over to the potatoes. I made sure they were doing okay, and then I started to whisk my eggs, milk, and seasoning. Then I poured it on top of the potatoes, and next I'm layering the sliced mushroom, which I added quite a bit of mushroom because it makes the frittata nice and thick. Now, and that's one thing about adding a lot more potatoes. It gives your frittata some really thick layering, and they taste delicious all warmed up. Now, I've added the greens on top there, and then I'm adding thin sliced tomatoes. Now, that's on half of the frittata for me and the hubster. Now, after you've done that, you're going to add your cheeses. Now, I put little dollops of whipped cream cheese because I found that it just melts much easier. I did put a little bit of American, which melts really well also. I put 2 little, I don't know, pinches of Parmesan, and that's shredded Parmesan cheese. And then the last one is going to be mild cheddar, and that's also shredded. So I'm going to do a couple of pinches of that also. Now, as it's doing this, the potatoes are browning at the bottom, and so is the egg. The egg is starting to fluff up. So I know everything's going well there. Now, you always want to do this. If your egg is gathering right in the middle of the pan, you want to make sure that you've got the egg going to the edges. Now, when you've finished doing that, you're going to turn your oven to broil. You can do that early if you like to warm it up, and then you're going to stick that pan right in the broiler. Broil it till it's a little bit browned at the top, and then slice and serve.